No, but
coming
you
up.
said you said you know that there is no God. How do you know that?
Oh, I know it because well as I could know anything. So I'm 99.9% sure.
But
If during this interview you provide evidence, I'll change my mind.
what is your evidence that there is no God?
Now we're into proving a negative. So it's not my burden to tell you there is no God. It's your claim. So you have to show me why I
But
should believe.
but it
And
is
you have
your
failed.
burden to prove that there is no God. You said
Why
you
is that?
know there is no God, and what is your evidence that there is no God? What's your evidence of that?
My evidence that there is no God is your complete and total lack of evidence that there is a God.
Amazing. I have with me in this second hour here Devin Tracy. And Devin Tracy is known on YouTube as Atheism is Unstoppable. Atheism is Unstoppable. Isn't that amazing? That is amazing. Devin, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Hey, Jesse, my man. Good to be here. It's an honor. I've been watching your videos. I am a fan, and I appreciate what you do. I think you're a much-needed voice
Well,
on YouTube.
thank you, Devin. I absolutely appreciate that. So, Devin, are you an atheist?
That is fair to say. Yeah, I am an atheist.
And why?
Because I feel it's the correct stance, but it's not something I actively think about. I actually don't talk about atheism much anymore. I feel like I've gotten it off my chest, and I feel like we've made our point. You know what I'm saying? Like we've evolved a little bit.
And what's
as
the
atheists.
point that you made?
Well, originally my point was just to kind of make fun of religious people and just state for the record that I thought it was all bogus and I thought it wasn't real, which is, I feel, kind of an important distinction because
and
you
so,
guys base your life around it. So.
And so let me go back to and why are you an atheist?
I'm an atheist because I don't believe in things that aren't true.
And what's not true that you don't believe in?
I love the questioning. I love it. It's all literal. What's not true is that there is no God, and you pick a story, pick any of those old fables. I mean, it's all just that. It's just make believe. And so it's time that we grow up as a species and stop living in fear and stop telling lies to ourselves. I thought you were about the truth, Jesse.
And how do you know that there is no God?
It's not about knowing. It's about how do I know that your argument that there is a God is not good? And I know that because I use reasoning and you guys don't have much evidence. So it's kind of an embarrassing assertion that you would claim that there's a invisible creature in the sky.
No, but you said you know that there is no God. How do you know that?
Oh, I know it because as well as I could know anything. So I'm 99.9% sure. If during this interview you provide evidence, I'll change my mind.
What is your evidence that there is no God?
Now we're into proving a negative. So it's not my burden to tell you there is no God. It's your claim. So you have to show me why I should believe.
But it is your burden to prove that there is no God. You said you know there is no God. And what is your evidence that there is no God? What's your evidence of that?
My evidence that there is no God is your complete and total lack of evidence that there is a God.
Amazing. And did you at one time believe that there was a God?
No, I was one of those that didn't get indoctrinated, so it was kind of an easy slide for me. It was, and I thank my parents for that. You know, a lot of people, they don't get that head start. They get told what to believe, and then they have to sort of question, wait a minute, am I just believing it because my parents told me, or is this what I actually think? So I got to avoid all that, which is nice.
So you were raised by your father and mother?
Yeah. I got a stepmother somewhere along the way there, but yeah, I had a father in my life, which is a big thing, which is something I know you talk about quite often.
Yeah. Were you raised by your father and mother?
Yeah, I was. My father was around, and he played an instrumental role in my upbringing.
Was he in the home with you?
He was most of the time, actually. Yeah, he had a job that.
What do you mean that you had a stepmother at some point?
My actual mother died when I was 5, and so he remarried, and I got a couple stepsisters and a new mom.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. But
I'm all right.
so you were not raised by your father and mother. You're raised by your father and a stepmother.
Correct.
And how did you feel about your stepmother?
Oh, boy, that's a can of worms. She is very religious. So, I tried to get along well, but it was never going to be a fit made in heaven. So it was whatever. I kind of went on with my life, and I sort of had my father there, and he was the main driving force.
Right. So your mother died when
Mhm.
you were 5. You had a stepmother, and you didn't like your stepmother at all.
She wasn't the wicked witch. I mean, it's not like a Disney, stepmother, but no, it was just, she
But
wasn't family per se, so it's a tough thing. I mean, most people with step parents kind of understand what one goes through.
this is why men and women who have children should
Hmm.
not remarry. They should not get with another woman, or a woman should not get with another man while they have children, because kids do not accept step parents.
It,
They desire, they yearn their own parents, and not for their own parents, and not some step parents. It's
yeah,
very selfish when men and women do that.
well, it's not a secret. I mean, there's many books written about this. I think depending on how old you are when the new parent comes in, that changes quite a lot. For example, my sister is 5 years older than me, and like a 5, or a 10 and 11-year-old girl getting a new mom, that ain't gonna fly.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that was a tricky one.
And were you close to your father?
Oh yeah, still am. He's a great guy, a great man. He comes from a great father, and it's one of those things where you don't really realize how lucky you are until other people point it out and they say, "Damn, I wish I had a relationship like the one you have with your father." And you just get lucky or you don't.
Did you forgive him for marrying this woman?
I, I fully forgive him.
You told him
Yeah,
that?
I never had any anger towards him, none whatsoever. Yeah,
But
and
did
by
he
the way,
know how much you disliked your Christian stepmother?
oh, it's on record. She was more than Christian, though. I mean, it was more into like, woo woo and New Age and Scientology and little Christianity. I mean, it was just everything. And it didn't really bother me. I mean, I tried to move on with my own life. There's more, life is too short to be worried about negative relationships or just things that aren't perfectly harmonious. So I was out dating girls and playing sports and, doing other stuff.
Could that explain why you rejected God? Because she was it sounded as though she was a terrible example of that.
um, no, I don't think I ever thought of a need to reject it. It was never an option. It was just, I don't know. Maybe, do you agree that it's important to believe in things that are true? Is that a principle of yours?
Well, if you really want a peaceful life, if you
Yeah.
want to be able to see and deal with life properly and overcome the issues, it's important to believe the truth, because when you believe the lie, then life becomes difficult. And because we do live by belief, we live by faith in something, we can't help it. It's best to live by what's right rather than the lie.
So are you suggesting that a belief in God is helpful in one's life and that's why we should believe it, not that it's actually true?
A belief in God is the truth, and it's the way to go.
Well, I believe that you truly believe in God, but I'm suggesting that it's kind of pointless because he's not real. But like,
And when you define evidence, when you say you need evidence, there's no evidence, right?
yeah.
Define that. What do you mean by define no evidence?
Well, I mean, we could use like a court system, like how a court would view evidence. I'm looking for anything, really, anything more than what you have, which is just stories written by people you don't even know wrote them. It's just not compelling. And the belief in God is an extraordinary claim, and there's not even a shred of evidence for it.
So let me just ask this, and then I want to move on. I have so much I
Yeah.
want to ask you about this.
Okay. All right.
So it sounds like your stepmother was a bad example of a person who believes in God. Do you think, has she been an example of what she preached? Has she been a living example of it? You might see this thing differently.
No, I see you're going with that angle, but there was more to my life than just my stepmother. I mean, I was raised in the 80s in LA, and there was a lot of God talk everywhere. I went to a youth group. I was in the Boy Scouts. We used to have religion in the Boy Scouts. I think they're taking it out now, but back then it was there, and none of it impressed me. I got to be honest. And this was not even a hard decision. It was just a no-go from the start. So I haven't been grappling with this. I'm not rejecting God. I just don't think it's real. So I just moved on.
Well, I understand. So where do you get your values from?
Well, partly the Boy Scouts, actually. But it's my society, my parents, and
But
my intuition.
it sounds like your mother was no good. Your stepmother was no good.
No,
So
no,
if what you said about her, she had no values.
no.
So maybe that's
She
why
had
you're like that.
no. I do have values. She's a fine woman. It's just our relationship was a little bit frayed. That's all. But values, there's tons of atheists that have values, and you know this. So don't try to suggest that I'm some sort of a hedonistic Satan
No.
worship.
I'm just saying it. I'm just asking, where do you get
Yeah.
your values from?
Well, I don't think I reinvented the wheel. I don't think I got them all from myself, but I am guided by my own personal intuition on what I think is right and wrong.
Amazing. There are a lot of millennials who are atheists. And why is atheism so popular among millennials or young people?
I think it's because it's the truth. It's the correct answer on the issue, and more people have more information. So access to that information is making it easier to become an atheist.
Amazing. Devin, you say that, I asked why are so many young people into this atheism thing, and you said because there's a lot of information out there nowadays, right?
Well, it's more than information. It's the argument for atheism. So never before in history has it been so eloquently given by guys like Hitchens, Harris, all the new atheists. So all those debates, remember that creation debate with Ken Ham and Bill Nye? Like, other young people can see that and then judge for themselves. It's just, for the longest time, it was just religion, Christianity, and nothing else. And so atheists felt secluded, and they questioned, like, am I the only one who doesn't buy this crap? And now they see, oh, the whole world is caught onto it. The secret's out.
And why have you chosen to believe the people who say that there is no God as opposed to the ones who say that there is a God? Why have you chosen to believe the ones that you believe?
Yeah, but that's just it. I'm not believing what people tell me. I'm telling you there is no God based on my personal assessment of the facts. So you guys have the assertion. It's a positive assertion by you guys that there is a God, and it just didn't convince me. That's basically why I'm an atheist.
I think that it's a horrible mistake to try to convince anyone or prove to anyone that there is a God. Either you believe it or you don't. And it's not up to me as an individual to prove to anyone that there is a God.
Okay. Yeah, and
because if I prove it to you, you only believe it because I proved it to you or said it, not because you see it for yourself. So if you don't see it for yourself, you never will have it anyway.
Yeah, you guys have that weird thing where you want people to believe without evidence.
I don't want people to believe.
No, but faith is a huge factor in
I know, but I don't want people to believe.
Okay, but I mean, God could show us evidence if he existed. That could happen, but he doesn't, because it's this purity test. And, you got to believe just blindly, and then you're going to be rewarded in heaven.
Well, in all honesty, God doesn't care if you believe or not. Who told you that?
Nobody told me that. I just okay. Well,
he
I like
really
the fact that
does not care if you believe. It's up to you. Okay. So he's not bothered by. He and his son, they wake up every morning, and they turn on the big screen TV, and he have his son go in and make a little coffee, and they sit back and just watch human beings make a fool of themselves. But he doesn't care if you believe or not.
Okay, well, we have something in common, because it sounds like you don't want people to believe, so you're not trying to convert.
I want them to believe. I want them to believe, but it's not bothering me, or I'm not trying to force them to believe. It's really up to them.
Yeah, and for me, I'm not spending my life trying to get people to be atheists. I mean, if I make a video and somebody converts, great, so be it. But most Christians don't even faze me. They don't bother me at all. I think they're wrong, but I'm more concerned about the ones that want to kill me. Like some of those Muslims out there.
Most atheist activists are leftists. And but it also seemed that a growing number of them are not leftists. Why are some leftists and some are not?
Well, I think there's a growing number of people who don't know what side of the aisle they're on, and people are getting a little bit frustrated with the binary nature of the left-right thing. It's just too simplified. And quite frankly, the people on the far left has made any association with the left at all kind of a toxic scenario. So they've embarrassed our entire side. And I think it's time that we split up. I want a divorce. I want a divorce from the guys at TYT, all these guys. I mean, let's get another party. Call them the regressive party and be done with it.
I noticed that all atheists seem to be social justice warriors. Are you a social justice warrior?
No, I positioned quite against that. And I think a lot of that SJW stuff, it's a character type, it's a weakness, but it's also a generational thing. So I'm Generation X type of guy. And I mean, what I have is just common sense. See, I don't even think I'm that special. I think in the age of the internet, it's like, what is that saying? In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. In the age of the internet, the man with common sense is king. All you have to do is be smarter than all the dumb people out there, because we got an influx of a massive amount of new dumb voices that don't even deserve to be heard, and yet they're yapping at us.
Where do you get your common sense from?
Father. I mean, just not my father in the sky, my actual father. He sings songs. He's a musician. He sang songs about common sense, and he just infused it in me. And then, of course, just life experience.
And where does your father, earthly father, get his common sense from?
It's a good question. He's well-traveled. He's international. He's an Englishman, but he's born in South Africa. So I think that's a recommendation I would actually have for a lot of the people in America. I know you talk to a lot of Americans. You got to get outside of America. There's a lot to be learned from stepping outside yourself, seeing a bit of the world, talking to new people, engaging with different lifestyles. I think a lot of common sense can be taken from just a good experience like that.
You say that, you just said you don't want to be killed by Muslims or Muslims.
Yep.
Who kill most, Christians or Muslims?
Well, this is a baited question, because an SJW would tell you, well, it depends on what century you're talking about. But I don't care about diving into history, even though I have a degree in history from UCLA. It's obviously Muslims by a country mile. It's not even close. And they are by far and away the largest threat. And of course, it's not all of them. And I know you sell T-shirts with "not all," and so do I.
And amazing. And so let me ask, my biblical question this week is, how do you see women? How do you see women?
Oh, what a broad question that is. I think that I see them in a fairly healthy and normal way. I think I see a lot of cloaked misogyny online. It's a lot of Asperger's going on. Are you familiar with that condition? People don't know how to deal with women. People are frustrated by them. People have anger, hostility, have been rejected a million times. They want to lash out. And it is kind of gross and disgusting and pathetic. So I have a successful relationship with women my entire life, and I guess it just seems normal to me, but yet I cringe at all these guys that seem to fail on this front.
It wasn't successful with your stepmother.
Well, I wasn't trying to sleep with my stepmother.
What?
But,
so how do you see women?
I see them as glorious vessels of birthing. No, I mean, they're great. I see them as I see men. I don't see too much of a distinction. I view them
You see
equally.
men when you see women?
No, I just view them as people. I don't have a special way of looking at women that is different than looking at men,
And so
unless
you-
it's sexual.
And so you see women as glorious, what?
Goddesses, I'll say.
Amazing. And besides the male body parts, what is a man?
Ah, you are fascinated by this question. I'm fascinated by the fact that you're fascinated by that. What is a man? See, I think men have a certain standard they like to try to aspire to, but I think that some of these things can apply to women. For example, saying, grow some balls, or you don't have the balls to do something. This is not just applicable to men. You could say that to women, but we use the sort of male jargon when we say that. But a man is someone who's strong and confident and who grapples with the challenges of his life. And I say that fully aware that this is something that women can and should do.
Is there a difference between men and women?
Not legally, not Morally, there are obvious differences. I'm not sure what you're getting at.
Devin, when I said that I've noticed that atheism, many atheists are social justice warrior, I was referring to the radical activist atheists. They're like the radical activist homosexuals and lesbians. They're very radical. And is that because they don't believe in God?
Nah, I think it's a coincidence. You're just going to get a lot more people who don't believe in God, and then they also have other things about them, but they're not correlated in any significant way. I mean, there's a lot of division within the atheist community. I was one of the people that started to divide them because I saw a bunch of SJWs, and I called them out. And the fact that we're both atheists means nothing to me.
Amazing.